Good morning. Good morning, third year. We're learning to find volume of a cuboid this morning. I like to start, when I'm teaching volume, I like to start with this animation. Now you will have done this before, but to find the volume of this cuboid, what we're really doing is we're counting the cubic units that we can fit inside that cuboid. So along the front there, we can fit 6 cubic centimeters, and then another 6 behind that, and another 6. So that's 18 on that bottom layer, and then we're just going to layer that up 4 times because it's 4 centimeters high, and so we can fit in 18 times 4 cubes. 4 layers of 18, well, that's like 8 layers of 9, so that's 72 cubic centimeters, and we write that like that: 72 cm with a little 3, a superscript 3, a power of 3. That's 72 cubic centimeters. Now we know a shortcut for that because we did 6 times 3 times 4, didn't we? But we have a formula. Volume V equals length times breadth times height. And what I do when I'm doing any calculation to do with volume is I start off with my formula. So V equals L times B times H. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you our first example. And it's going to be a cereal box, just like one I have downstairs, with approximately the same dimensions as these. And I start by writing down V, or volume, equals L times B times H. And then I'm going to put in my numbers. So V equals 18 times 5 times 27. A question for you. Does it matter which order I write those in? So V equals 18 times 5 times 27, and that comes to 2,430. We could use a calculator for that, or you could multiply. So we're going to do 18 times 5 is 90. So that's like 9 times 27 times 10. So if we do 9 times 27, we'll get 180 add 63. So we'll get 143 times the 10. 243 times 10 is 2,430 cubic centimeters. A deliberate mistake for you there, just keep you thinking. So in our second example, we're going to be asking or thinking about the liquid volume. So we've still got our cuboid, and so our formula is still V equals L times B times H. So it's 6 times 3 times 2. Well, that's 18 times 12. So you do 10 times 12 and 8 times 12 and add those together. Or you can use a calculator. So the volume equals 216 cubic centimeters. But we don't normally talk about cartons of juice having a volume in cubic centimeters. It would normally be in milliliters. So you have to remember how many cubic centimeters there are in a milliliter and vice versa. So 1 cubic centimeter is 1 milliliter. So it's just exactly the same number, but the units have changed from cubic centimeters to milliliters. So that was our second example. So you can pause the video at this point and write that one down. And then our third example is of a fish tank. So this has dimension as well, but we've got mixed units. What are we going to do with that? Much water does that fish tank hold? Well, the first thing we do is write down our formula. I would do that every time. It helps you remember it, and it helps you to get into good habits. So the volume is 100 times 30 times 50, and the volume is 150,000 cubic centimeters. 1 times 3 times 5 is 15, and then there's 4 zeros afterwards, or you can use a calculator. So that's 150,000 milliliters, but we would normally put that into liters, so it would be 150 liters. The thing I forgot to say at the start is, why didn't I put 1 in here? Because it's 1 meter, it says. So 1 meter is 100 centimeters. I cannot mix the units. I have to have these the same. So that was our third example. And that's a common thing to happen at National 5. They'll want the volume in litres. Another thing they'll ask you to do quite a lot is backwards volumes. So for example, in this one, so our example 4 We've still got a fish tank. We don't know all the dimensions. We don't know the height, but we do know the volume. So we can say, we can still use our same formula to start off with. I'm going to be using lots of different volume formulas, so I'm going to call this V-cuboid. You'll see me use that a few times in the next few days. If we look at other shapes, V-cuboid is L times B times H. So we can write this line next because we know the volume. So we can write the volume in on the left-hand side. So 140 litres is 140,000 cubic centimetres is equal to 100 times 40 times H. 100 times 40 is 4,000. So we can cancel, we can divide both sides by 1,000. So we know that 140 is 4 times H. What's the opposite of times 4? It's divided by 4, so we can say the height is 140 divided by 4. So if we divide 140 by 2 and then 2 again, we'll get 35. So half of 140 is 70, and then half of that is 35. So the height is 35 centimeters. So that's working backwards with these formulas, and you'll be asked to do that at the end of this worksheet. So this is the worksheet I'd like you to do now. I don't need you to do every single question. I'd like you to do alternative questions. So A, then C, and then E. Please show you're working. So if you always start with a formula, that's a great way to start these volume questions. This video I think is about 10 minutes, 8 minutes, something like that. You might need to watch some of it again to help you, but if you start with V equals L times B times H, well, all of these, then I think you'll get on fine. At the end of it, there is some working backwards questions, and there are answers at the back. And next, the next lesson, the next video will be about how to calculate the volume of a prism. Okay, enjoy. See you soon. Bye.